Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Right now, social distancing being practiced inside and outside. If you want curbside service, you just call ahead, and they will do that for you. They are taking this very seriously and doing a great job for the community as they have for 100 years. The best building materials anywhere in East Tennessee or the state of Tennessee for that matter. Visit aghines.com, and as I say, all the social distancing practices are being taken care of inside and out. A.G. Hines Company. Okay, let's take a look ahead and assume that there is a college football season this year of some sort. I'm with 99% of the ADs. By golly, it's going to be football. If we look ahead to the 2021 draft, I've given you guys a list here, and I know you did your research ahead of time. Tennessee seniors and juniors. Who do we see as being prospects this time next year for the draft off this Tennessee team? I see a couple of positions that are so vague right now that if somebody steps forward, I could see a receiver or a defensive lineman working their way in. But right now, at those positions, I don't see anybody definite. Do you see definites?
Trey Smith. I saw where Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina went in the first round. They were bragging about him. Trey Smith whipped him. They went head-to-head, and Trey Smith, I thought, dominated him. I think Trey Smith will be a first-round draft pick, provided all the medical stuff is cleared up. And I also saw a mock draft that had Cade Mays in the first round. Maybe. We'll have to see. Obviously, he's got to get eligible. He needs to play for that to happen. If I were to throw one more out there, I would say Bryce Thompson at cornerback.
I think Thompson's up there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have Cade Mays in there. I didn't expect him to be the kind that would be able to leave early. You're talking about somebody who wasn't, and he had his playing time cut at Georgia. So, now he's going to be playing here, but ready for the NFL after 1 year. After 1 year here, I don't know. That surprised me that his name was kicking around out there. Anybody, Ryan, stand out to you as definite prospects off this team aside from Thompson, Smith, and Mays?
Yeah, a lot of guys that are possibilities. The next one that I look at maybe as a skill position guy who could really put himself in that mix. I still think Josh Palmer has an NFL skill set, and I don't know that he's had the production yet that NFL teams want to see, but if he has a big senior year, I could see him having that kind of chance. A lot of guys in that mix, that could have a good year and play their way into that. The other one that I think comes to mind, maybe not a draft pick, you never know with specialists, but Brent Samaglia. He had a really good year. If he continues to kick with that kind of success rate, I think you're going to see him play in the NFL and certainly get a good undrafted free agent chance, if nothing else.
I wonder if he didn't have a good year last year, though he did win his job back. A guy who has talent, if he can put it together, is Alontae Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's a junior, so that would be putting a heck of a year together if he jumped early. But that would be somebody I would see in terms of he has the makeup. If he can put it all together, that's a guy who has the NFL body, I think, to make it. You wonder about D'Angelo Gibbs. If you're talking about transfers from Georgia, that's a guy who sat last year. We don't know what you're going to get in him, but certainly a high recruit when he went to Georgia.
And he's changing positions, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing Jarrett Garantano's name. I'm not hearing that name being kicked around.
I would put him in there just because he's a guy that if he wins the job, again, assuming he's got some competition, maybe even a guy like JT Daniels, if he's the starter and has a good year, sure, there's always a chance. We've seen Jonathan Crompton had a successful senior year, and it got him drafted. So you can see that kind of elevation in a guy's stock, but I think he's got a ways to go. The other one that comes to mind for me, Emmett Gooden, coming off an injury last year. Could he have a good senior year that puts him in that draft mix too?
Jimmy, you and I were talking before the show. Kevon Bennett is another one of those guys. I think that defensive line, all those guys showed little glimpses last year, but if one of them puts a year together where they pile up some sacks, I think they could go to the front of the line. Gooden being a guy on the defensive line who could have a special year.
And see, that's the thing with Kevon Bennett. He did show some pass rushing skills, not a lot. He flashed last year, but if all of a sudden he becomes an 8 to 10 sack guy, maybe you look at him. And then you wonder a little bit, too, about is an Aubrey Solomon or someone of that ilk, Middleton. And the reason I bring him up is that if they break out and have a big year, what did Daniel McCullers do at Tennessee? Not a lot, but he was a big body.
Yeah.
And so I think he's still in the NFL. So if you show some promise and you show some improvement, I think you have a chance, but I think they would be long shots.
Yeah, and when I throw Kevon Bennett in there, he's linebacker, but it's edge, so I always throw that in. Edge rushers, I always throw that defensive line rather than linebacker, but you get the point. Anybody else?
Two other dark horses I would throw in there just based on their speed because it is a measurables game. Velus Jones Jr. looks like a guy who would run a good 40, and I thought he showed some flashes in the one day of spring practice we got to see. And then Ty Chandler, I think, has the chance to run a good 40, and if he had some good numbers this year, I would not be surprised. Even though Tennessee's staff maybe doesn't use him in a big way, I think he still has the talent to do it.
And I wonder if a guy now, he'll be in his 6th year this year. But he played at Alabama, he played at Tennessee, he started every game since he's been here, minus the injury. Brandon Kennedy. I wonder if he doesn't. Late in the game, does somebody say, "This is a guy who's done it in the SEC year after year after year at 2 different schools. Let's bring him in."
He's got a chance. Yeah,
we'll see. All right. When we come back. Well, let me tell you this first before we do that. WaveTech, open for business right now. Visit wavetechknoxville.com. for more information about their hours and the practices they're going through right now. But they are open. Just check them out online to get more information about WaveTech. Now, Ryan, first of all, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. Take care. Be safe. Next, what's the single best defensive performance by a Tennessee team Jimmy, Chuck, or I have ever seen? That's what we're doing next, our Hindsight 2020 segment. And then later, we still got to talk about Yves Pons going to the NBA draft. What impact would that have on Tennessee if he stays in the draft? Come on back on the Sports Source.